All right, so this is part 1 of your final exam review. We're going to make our way through the first 15 questions, which is about 1/3 of your review sheet. What did you do, Ayana, to both sides to solve?
I made the variable by itself, so I added 3 to both sides.
Very good. Add 3 to both sides because I have to get W by itself. Raise your hand if you got -2. All right, starting off from the right foot. Number 4. Oh, we have, what do we call that? Distributive property. Awesome. Great job. Okay, so for the distributive property, I've got to, we call it kind of unpack that, the parentheses there. Combine any like terms that we might see and then solve. All right, so start working through that problem. Okay, let's see. Caden, what did you get when you did the distributive property? You did that multiplication part. Yep, plus 4 equals -8. Great. Gabe, did you see anything over on this left side that we could possibly combine? What is it?
2 and 4.
2 and 4. Very good. 2 plus 4 is 6. And 6 minus 10x equals -8. Now I'm looking at a 2-step equation. Jason, what's my next step? Subtract 6. What's -8 minus 6?
-14.
-14. -10x equals -14. And what do I do now to solve for x? Yes, by -10. I left my answer a fraction. If you said 1.4, that'd be fine too.
Is it on file?
Yeah, it's fine if it's a decimal. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine if it's a decimal. All right, number 5. 3 minus 4x equals -7 minus 4x. Go ahead and solve that one. I'll give you another minute to finish that one up. What did you do first? We kind of have a checklist, right? Like, all right, what do we see here about the variables? Well, the variables are on both sides of the equal sign, right? So I need to get which one to the other side? It's supposed to be the lesser value, right? But what do we see here? They're the same. They're the same. So when I try to move one of them and get it to cancel out, what actually is going to happen to the other side? It's going to cancel out too. So when the variable cancels out, I have one of 2 answers. It's either infinite solution or no solution. Okay, does anybody remember how I tell which one it is? How do I remember? How do I tell? Does 3 equal -7? No. Is that a true statement? No. So if it's a true statement, it's infinite solution. If it's not true, which in this case it's not, then it's no solution. Okay, it's going to be no solution. All right, so if those x's cancel out, guys, that's my indicator, that's my hint that I don't actually have a solution to this problem. Okay. All right, next one. All right, let's do number 7A. I think if we can do A, y'all can do B or C. So on 7, 8, and 9, we're going to do the first point, okay? So I know some of the labels got messed up. We're not so much as concerned about the label as we are just getting these values translated, reflected, and rotated. So on 7A, my point is -5, -6. And what does it say to do on the translation? 5
units
left, 3 units up, okay? So if I'm going 5 units left, what am I doing to my x value? Subtracting it by 5, okay? So I minus by 5, what's -5 minus 5? -10. And if I'm going 3 units up, what am I doing to y? Yes, adding 3. All right, so my new A, my x value is -10, and my y value is -3. Okay, So what would it have said on the y if I needed to subtract? Down. It would have said down. And what about the x? What if I needed to add? What would it have said?
Right.
To go right. Okay, so that's translations. Now let's talk reflections. If I need to reflect this point across which axis? The x-axis. I need to do the opposite of y. Okay, reflect across x, do the opposite of y. So my x value stays the same, and if it was positive 5, now it's going to be negative 5. Very good. Okay, so now you should be able to do the other two. All right, look at number 9. So on number 9, I give you the key. It says x, y, and then negative y, x. What does that mean? What does that mean about what I'm supposed to do to the ordered pairs? I'm supposed to, what, Kennedy?
Flip them and do the opposite to the y.
Very good. Flip it and do the opposite of y. So if y in the original one was negative 3, now it's going to be positive 3. And my x value stays the same. Okay, so it was a negative 2, it stays a negative 2 for number 9. All right, how are we doing, guys? Okay, look at number 10. All right, so again, you need to fill in the whole rest of that front page. Okay? All right, on number 10, we're going to pretend for a minute that we do not know the answer to this. Some of you may be able to look at these triangles and actually know what x is going to equal based on the little triangle. Okay? But let's pretend for a minute that you don't. What if it's going to be a decimal or some complicated ratio here? Here's what you need to do. You need to make the little triangle into a ratio. So give me a ratio that represents the little triangle, Isaiah.
4 over 16.
4 over 16. Okay, or could he have said 16 over 4? Yes, he could have, as long as the other side matches. Okay, the sides. So 4 over 16 is what I would do. So what does the other ratio need to be if the first one's 4 over 16? 7 over x, and now I can do cross products to solve this proportion. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so 4x equals 112. Divide, and you get 28. Does anybody notice kind of how these are relating to each other if x is 28? What do I multiply 4 by to get to 16? 4. What do I multiply 7 by to get to 28? 4. So if you see that connection, you actually didn't have to do any of that work. However, what if the connection isn't there? What if it's from a 4 to a 5 or something? Okay? So in that case, you're going to need to know how to do the proportion. Does that make sense, guys? All right. So the proportion is kind of like our fail-safe. We know that that's going to work every time. All right. Let's do number 11. Oh, number 11 looks fun. Find the interior measure of the polygon. Y plus all those other angles equals some amount. You think all those are going to equal 180?
No.
No. So you have to find the sum of the angle measures. There's a formula you can follow. Don't say it out loud. Or you might even have it memorized once you figure out how many sides this figure has. Okay? I don't care which way you do it. Get your total. Guys, I walked around last hour and I saw a ton of people not having equations. They have just all this like random work that they showed and they have the right answer, but they have no equation. They have no variable that they're solving for. And that's important. It's important that you know how to set up an equation. All right? So make sure you're showing your work this way. Finish solving for y. What's the sum, guys? What's the sum?
584.
720 is the total. Okay? Remember, guys, n minus 2. How many sides are there? 6 sides minus 2 is 4 times 180. gives me my sum, n minus 2 times 180. All right, so now that I have my sum, I did hear this number already. What do you get when you add all those sides together? 584. So here's what I'm going to say, okay? You need, oh, sorry, that just messed up. You need at least this equation on your final exam, okay? If this is a question on your final.
What if it's flipped?
All right? I don't care as long as it's y plus 584 or 584 plus y. Oh, goodness. Leave it to Miles to ask the one. That's okay. That's a great question. All right. So now what do I do to both sides? What do I do to both sides to solve? Subtract 584. Oh, it keeps doing that. Okay. Subtract by 584 from both sides. Okay. And what do you get?
136.
Very good. Okay, let's look at number 12 now. Look at number 12. All right, there are two ways that you can graph this linear equation. 6x plus 3y equals 15. Okay, 6x plus 3y equals 15. Does anybody know what format this is written in right now? What format is it written in? Sarah? Standard form. Okay. Now, you may or may not remember, but when we learned standard form, we learned to solve using X and Y-intercept to graph it. It's actually a little quicker than putting this into slope-intercept form, which is, say it with me, y equals mx plus b. Would you all agree to get y by itself, that's going to take a few steps? Would you agree?
Yes.
If you want to do it that way, by all means, it's totally fine. You will get the right answer every time. Okay? However, when it's in standard form, okay, another way that is very doable and pretty easy to solve is to find your x and y intercepts. Does anybody remember, if I want to find my x-intercept, what do I need to do? Gabe?
Like make y like 0.
Make y 0. And how many times am I going to write the equation? Twice. Okay? Now again, if I'm writing this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I hate this method, I don't want to use this, you don't have to. You can put it in slope-intercept form and still graph it the same way. Okay? So if I plug in 0 for y, does everybody agree that y would cancel out? Okay. All right. Oh, this stinks. Okay. Yeah. What do I do now? Hey, you know what? Okay, just for kicks, because we can, let's change the 15 to an 18. Okay. And honestly, all that's going to do is just make everything even. Okay. All right. So now, what am I going to do to solve for x? Divide both sides by 6. So x equals what? 3, which is 3, 0. Okay? Now, let's do the same thing for y. If I'm solving for y, what plugs in for x?
0.
6.
So that's...
0.
Yeah, you're right. Which is gone now. Divide both sides by 3. And guys, what's going to end up happening is when you get into Algebra 1 and you're starting to do these more, you're going to be able to just look at it and like mentally eliminate and just solve it. Are you kind of starting to do some of that in your head? Okay. So the whole blocking out and plugging in 0, you might not even have to show that work. On an SAT, they don't care about your work. Okay. They just want you to pick the right answer. All right, so what I want you to do is finish graphing it on your own, and we'll check the graph for your homework grade tomorrow. 13, I'm not going to solve it for you. It's one of your homework questions. However, in order to write an equation, you must have two things. What are they? Slope and what? Y-intercept. You have to have those two values. So you're going to write, okay, I will give you this hint. Number 13 should be y equals some number with the x plus or minus, okay, depending on what it is, your B, your y-intercept. So you're filling in this equation on number 13. Can you find the slope based on that graph?
Yes.
Absolutely. Count your slope, rise over run. Then can you look at the line and determine what the y-intercept is?
Yes.
That value goes at the end. Okay, that's it. All right, so finish number 13 for your homework. Let's do number 16. Okay, number 16 should help you with 14 and 15. All right, number 16 gives me two ordered pairs. Again, if I need to write an equation, what two things do I need? Slope and what, guys? Y-intercept. Okay, slope and y-intercept are the two things that I need. So can I find slope using two ordered pairs?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and do that. No matter what, slope is always the first thing that I solve for. Go ahead and do that. So to find slope, I went 8 minus 4 over negative 4 minus negative 6. How are we doing on catching those double negatives? Doing okay? Okay, so that double negative changes to positive. Okay, 8 minus 4 is 4, negative 4 plus 6.
2.
Reduces to?
2.
Okay, so now all I have to do is go back to the ordered pairs and find my y-intercept. Can't do it. On number 15, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that one's going to be easy. But 16, you can't because neither one of them have a 0 for x. So, point slope. Point slope. Y minus y1. Now, it does not matter which ordered pair you pick. I like to pick the first one just because I like things in order. Okay, so here's the first ordered pair. Which one of those values is your y1 value?
4.
Y minus 4 equals m. Didn't I just solve for m? Yup. 2 times x minus x1. What's my x1 value from the same ordered pair? Negative 6. Is this coming back to you guys?
No.
You're remembering a little bit? Okay. Now I want you to try to finish solving. All right. It's just a matter of distributive property and solving for y.
What's the X?
Double negative changes to a positive before you do anything else. Okay. Now, y minus 4 equals what? 2x plus 12. Now there's one more step to get y by itself. What do I do?
Plus the 4.
Okay, add 4.
I said plus the 4.
Okay, a few of you, I'm kind of smelling burnout a little bit. You're kind of tapped out for today. So that's good because, you know, we're done. Okay, we're done for the day. 2x plus 16. All right, is going to be our equation there. All right, so you have a few problems for homework tonight to just go back and strengthen some of these areas that we've been reviewing. Tomorrow is our classwork assignment. That's your end of course assessment. It's not going to be anything more than a classwork grade. It's in the grade book as a quiz, but I'm going to change that just because we really need to take this week to focus on your final, and we don't have enough time to really put into that assignment, so we're going to focus on the final. All right, and that'll be everything for day 1.